I used to think my father's silence was a kind of strength, the kind that held the walls together. When I was a boy, he could sit through an entire dinner without saying a word, just the scrape of his knife against the plate, cutting everything into perfect, even squares. My mother used to talk just to keep the air moving. She'd tell stories about the neighbors, about the church, about me. But her voice always ended the same way, in that thin, careful quiet that meant he was watching. I work nights now, janitor at the elementary school. The children's laughter still lingers in the halls, like ghosts that never learned they're gone. I clean up what's left of them. Gum under desks, drawings of families that look happier than mine ever did. Hum of the fluorescent lights keeps me company. Sometimes I listen to it and imagine it's breathing. My father still lives on the edge of town, in that sagging house that smells like oil, sawdust, and old rain. I visit him once a week because I tell myself I'm a good son, or maybe because I'm afraid of what would happen if I stopped. He's older now, slower, but his eyes haven't changed. They still move first. He's searching the room for something only he can hear. He doesn't talk much. He never did. When he does, it's usually about discipline, about how men should finish what they start. I nod. I don't argue. It's easier that way. Before I leave, he always pats my shoulder. His hand stays there just a second too long. Heavy, familiar, wrong. On the drive home, I roll down the window and let the cold air fill the car, trying to shake the feeling that something of him is still on me. There are nights I wake up thinking I hear his truck outside. It's just the wind, I tell myself. Just the wind. But lately I'm not so sure. It started with a smell. Metallic, faint, like rust on rain-soaked tools. I noticed it one night while cleaning room 12, the art class. The kids had painted family portraits that week, every face smiling, every sky blue. I was mopping near the window when the scent hit me. Sharp, wrong, familiar. It took me a moment to realize what it reminded me of, the shed behind my father's house. I told myself it was just the old plumbing. The school's pipes had always leaked. But the smell followed me down the corridor, clinging to the soles of my boots like something that wanted to be remembered. A few nights later, I stayed later than usual. The radio on my cart was playing static. No music, just that soft, broken hiss. I turned the dial, but every channel sounded the same, a low hum beneath the noise. Then, somewhere in that static, I heard it. 3 taps. Slow, even, tap, tap, tap. It was the same rhythm my father used when he wanted me to come outside as a kid. 2 knocks meant company. 3 meant I shouldn't tell my mother. I froze, mop handle slick in my hand. The sound didn't repeat, but I couldn't shake the memory of it. The next day I tried to laugh it off. I told myself I was tired. Too many long nights, too many memories crawling out from under the noise. But then, when I went to my truck after work, I saw something sitting on the passenger seat. It was a hunting knife, the same kind my father used to clean deer with when I was young. The handle was worn smooth, carved with the faint initials R.H., Richard Hayes, his name. I hadn't seen that knife in over 15 years. I remember because he made me bury it. Said it was ruined after the accident. I didn't touch it. I just sat there, staring through the windshield as the streetlights flickered on. There was no note, no sign of a break-in, no reason it should be there. That night I called him. He didn't answer, but when I checked the voicemail later, I heard something in the background. A low hum, steady and rhythmic, like breathing through metal. The next morning, a story came on the local news. A woman from the next town over had gone missing. The photo on the screen showed a smiling face, the kind of smile people only make when they think the world is still safe. The reporter said the police were searching the wooded areas just off County Road 6. That was the same road my father used to take me hunting, and I swear, when they showed footage of the search, I recognized the clearing. I remembered where we buried the knife. I told myself I wasn't going back there. That part of my life was done, sealed off with dirt and years. But denial has a way of sounding like reason when you say it in your own voice. 3 nights after seeing that knife, I found myself on County Road 6. The air was thick with fog, the kind that moves like it remembers you. My headlights cut through just enough to make the darkness feel alive. The old path to the clearing was still there, overgrown and narrow. I parked by the ditch, left the engine running, some part of me pretending I could still leave. The forest smelled exactly the same. Wet soil, iron, pine. I walked slow, flashlight trembling in my hand. My boots sank into the mud, and with each step, the hum from my father's voicemail echoed in my head, a sound that didn't belong to machines or men. When I reached the clearing, I stopped breathing. The ground looked freshly disturbed. Not much, just a patch where the grass had gone thin, the soil darker than it should have been. And there, half buried in the dirt, was a strip of cloth. Red plaid, the kind of shirt my father always wore. I knelt down. The smell was stronger now. Not rot, older than that. Something deep and metallic, like rust and memory. I dug a little with my hands before I caught myself. What did I think I was going to find? Or worse, recognize? A voice behind me said, "You shouldn't be here, son." I spun around, light shaking, heart in my throat. But there was no one. Just trees, and the sound of wind moving through them like breath. I didn't run. I just stood there, shaking, the word son echoing inside me. It wasn't just the sound. It was the way it was said. Flat. Familiar. The same tone my father used when he wanted me to obey. When I finally made it back to the truck, there was something on the passenger seat. Not the knife this time. A folded piece of paper. My name written on it in that same blocky handwriting he used for grocery lists. Inside it said, "You never buried it deep enough." The words looked smudged, like they'd been written with a dirty hand. Beneath them, a small brown stain had seeped through the paper. I drove home with the windows open, shaking, the night air cutting into me like punishment. That's when I started dreaming about the shed again. The sound of a door creaking, the faint drag of something heavy across the floor. And my father's voice saying, "Be a man, Michael. Help me carry it." I wake up every night now with the same taste in my mouth, like blood that isn't mine. I didn't plan to confront him. I just wanted answers. Something simple, something sane. But the truth has a way of dressing itself as necessity. By the time I pulled into his driveway, the sky was the color of bruised steel, and the house looked smaller, like it had been shrinking with him. He was in the garage, sitting on that old stool he used to sharpen knives on. The same radio from my childhood was playing, static again, a low hum like an engine idling in another world. He looked up when I came in, eyes pale and calm, like he'd been expecting me. "You found it?" he said. Not a question. I wanted to ask what he meant, but my throat locked. The knife, the note, the smell. Everything pressed against my ribs like something alive. He motioned to the empty chair beside him. "Sit down, son. You've got that look again." "What look?" "The one I used to have. When I realized some things don't stay buried." I told him I didn't understand. He smiled. Small, tired. "You do." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out another piece of cloth. The same red plaid I'd seen in the dirt. He held it between his fingers like a relic. "She fought," he said quietly. "They always do, at first." The world narrowed. My pulse drowned out everything. I told him to stop talking, but he kept going, voice calm, steady, proud in a way that made me sick. "You helped me once. You remember that, don't you? You helped me make it right." I did remember. The accident, the smell of gasoline, the hole we dug in the woods while my mother slept. I was 16. I didn't ask questions. He said we were burying an animal hit by the truck. But animals don't wear shoes. Something inside me broke then. Not loudly, not like in movies. It just gave way. I told him I was going to the police. He laughed, that dry, hollow sound that used to make me freeze as a kid. "Tell them what, Michael? That you helped me? That you've been dreaming of it for years? That you still see her face when you close your eyes?" I stepped back, the room spinning. My father stood, slow but certain, like gravity belonged to him. "You think you're different," he said, "but you kept the knife." I told him he was wrong, that I left it in the truck, that I wanted nothing to do with it. But his eyes softened, almost proud. "You carried it home," he whispered. "That's all it takes." Something in the air shifted. That metallic scent again, sharp and wet. Hum from the radio grew louder until it filled the room. My father looked past me into the dark corner of the garage and smiled. "I told you," he said, almost tender. "It never really leaves the blood." I don't remember leaving. Just the echo of his voice following me out into the night, quiet and certain. "Finish what you start." It's been 9 years since that night. Sometimes I tell myself he's dead. Sometimes I know better. The police came the next morning. I'd left his house unlocked, the garage door open, the radio still humming to no one. They found no trace of him. No footprints, no fingerprints, not even a coffee cup with his prints on it. Just the stool, the sharpening stone, and that smell, faint and metallic, clinging to the air like something alive. They asked questions. I answered what I could, though most of what came out didn't make sense, even to me. They thought maybe he'd run, or maybe I'd helped him. They were half right, I suppose, because every time I close my eyes, I can still see him walking past me, slow and steady, carrying that same invisible weight he always had. I left Missouri after that, changed my name, took a job 2 states away cleaning motel rooms off the highway. Places where no one asks where you came from, and everyone looks a little guilty. The kind of towns that feel like waiting rooms for forgotten souls. For a while, things got quiet. The nights were long, but the silence didn't feel dangerous anymore. I stopped checking my locks twice, stopped dreaming about the woods. I even let myself believe the worst was over. But quiet doesn't mean peace. It means something's listening. It started again last winter. I was cleaning room 8. A double bed, faded carpet, nothing special. When I pulled the dresser away from the wall to sweep, something clattered onto the floor. A hunting knife. Not the same one, but close enough to make my chest tighten. The handle smooth, the blade dull with time. There were initials carved into it, MH this time. Mine. I dropped it like it burned. The motel manager said it must have belonged to a guest, told me to throw it out. I did, or at least, I thought I did. The next morning, it was back on the sink in my room, resting on a folded towel. Clean. I didn't tell anyone. There's no point explaining a curse that sounds like a memory. Instead, I keep it locked in the drawer beside my bed. Some nights, when I can't sleep, I take it out and stare at it under the lamp. The light catches on the blade and makes it glow, like it's breathing. I've tried to remember the truth of what happened that night in the woods, but it changes each time I tell it. Maybe there was a girl. Maybe there wasn't. Maybe he killed her. Maybe I did. Memory's a liar when guilt holds the pen. I know this much. The ground in that clearing was never deep enough. Things buried in fear have a way of finding air. Last week, a letter arrived. No return address. Just my name, written in blocky handwriting that made my stomach twist. Inside was a piece of red plaid fabric and a single sentence. "You're ready now." I haven't slept since. The nights feel heavier again. The kind of heavy that hums, the kind that waits. Sometimes I hear the sound of tires on gravel outside my window. When I look, there's nothing there, but the smell of rust fills the air, and I feel my father's hand on my shoulder, heavy and wrong. He used to say, "Men don't run from what they are." I think I understand that now. I keep the knife close, not because I want to use it, but because I'm afraid one day I won't have a choice. I tell myself I'm not like him, that I can still decide. But lately, when I see my reflection in the mirror, I notice my jaw set the way his did. My eyes, the same pale gray. My silences, longer than they used to be. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and realize I've been standing by the door, keys in hand, not remembering how I got there. The knife is always missing from the drawer when it happens. By morning, it's back. Always clean. There are news reports again. People gone missing off the highway. Always near the woods. Always in places that smell like rain and oil. The world moves on and I keep mopping floors, pretending the stains are just stains. But deep down, I know what's waiting. I hear his voice in every hum of static, in every silence that lingers too long. Finish what you start. And the truth is, I don't know if he's telling me to stop him or to continue what he began. Some nights I sit outside the motel with the knife beside me, listening to the wind carry faint, uneven tapping from somewhere far off. 3 knocks. Slow. Even. I used to think my father was the monster. Now I'm not so sure he ever really existed outside of me. It never followed me home. It was already here,